trying to be a superstar like everybody else. But being myself is something I do well. Whatever you do, do it good. Whatever you do.
Hi. A few years ago now, we did a short video explaining some drills that would help you isolate key areas within the golf swing and accelerate your improvement. What I'd like to do in this short video is add further drills and further ideas to that based on my own learnings and experiences over the last 2 years. One particular piece that I experienced difficulty with myself and certainly witnessed students having difficulty with is the idea or the feeling of pushing up off the ground through impact. Using the floor to push up off during the hit of the golf ball is a tremendous source of power. Also, as we push up off the ground, we continue to hit out at the golf ball as opposed to flexing forward and coming across the golf ball. One of the drills I use to try and sort of accelerate the learning of this, certainly enhance the feel of this, is to set up a situation where the player can make no backswing at all, so hardly any backswing, taking the club back merely a foot or so and then trying to hit the ball as far as possible. Now, bearing in mind when you're doing this as far as possible isn't going to be terribly far, it's going to be 10 or 15 yards in front of you. One of the things we found is that when making zero accumulation of power, if you will, with a backswing, the only real source of power I've got is to push up off the ground and relinquish the angles in the ankles, the knees and the pelvis coming through to generate power. So pushing up is the only source of power that I or the student now have. So from a normal setup with a weight forward, zero accumulation of power, try and hit the ball as far as possible, gives a lovely feeling of pushing up off the ground, the belt buckle raising, allowing the hips to continue to turn. Another common mistake we see during the golf swing, particularly in the downswing from P4 to P7, is a throwing away of the angles in the wrists. So the wrists uncocking too soon, and this leads to a number of issues in regards to low point control and path control. A great drill for this, and this was courtesy of a good friend of mine, Martin Park, was to swing to the top of the backswing and stop, and then return to P7 without any unhinging of the wrist, without any unloading of accumulator 2. And you can repeat that a number of times, and one of the things it does is obviously gives you a feel of hanging on to the angles in the wrists rather than trying to release the club. It also tends to enhance the player's ability in regards to the linear aspect of the downswing, and also the degree of shaft lean is very emphasised coming into impact. So if any of you out there are dumping the wrist very early, try this drill, maintaining the angle all the way to P7 without relinquishing any hinging in the wrist. A lot of people, whether we agree with it or not, we appreciate the wedges and the putters are important, but a lot of people want to hit the driver well. It's great for the ego and it does help the scoring. There's nothing worse than driving it badly. You're hitting 3 off the tee on a regular basis, or you're hacking it out of the trees in the rough. It's not going to help you score any, and at that stage it doesn't really matter how well you putt. So we've got to get the driver swing functional. It doesn't have to be perfect every time. We want to make solid contact and send it out there as far as we can, as straight as we can, as often as we can. So one of the things we'd look at is ways of doing that. Well, the first thing, with the ball being further forward in the stance, the hips have to move forward for longer during the downswing. Now, a lot of people find that difficult, and I for one have found that difficult pretty much for the whole of my golfing life. And one of the things that's helped me through working with the other instructors, and particularly Andy and Mike, with the appreciation of the difference between a shift during the downswing and a stable downswing. So even within stack and tilt, you've got the options really of drawing from the pattern key pieces. I, for one, and a lot of my students find it very difficult to go from a position at the top with about 55 to 60% of the weight in the lead leg and shift forward enough with the hips to get the weight 80 to 90 into the lead leg at impact. So a great drill, or a great way of actually playing golf, is to put more weight forward at setup. So let's put the weight where we want it at impact. We're going to put the weight 80 forward, so 80-20 in favour of the lead leg. And now we're already where we need to be. We don't need as much shift force during the downswing to hit the ball properly. And by moving the weight forward, we're also producing, by default, a little bit of a downward or levelling out of the angle of attack, which is producing a little bit of outward movement with the path. One of the things I found on a personal note is, in an attempt to shift across, there was very little rotation in the downswing. The hips would tuck under too much and the arms would be thrown off the ribcage with a very high exit. With the weight further forward, 80-20 favouring the lead leg, I'm able to concentrate much more on the rotational aspects of the downswing without the fear of tucking underneath too much and getting stuck under it. So the key thought for me would be weight forward, turn through the ball as hard as I want. Really nice, safe, low maintenance way to swing a golf club, and it's the difference between a shift in the downswing from P4 to P7 or a stable downswing from P4 to P7 with a limited amount of shift. One of the issues a lot of players have is the ability to control the direction of the swing. So not necessarily the path of the golf club, the direction of the swing. So the plane that we make can be directed to the left or can be directed to the right. So what we've got here is a setup that we can use on the range, and you would use either one side where the yellow canes are or the other side where the white canes are to try and police what's going on with your swing direction. The cane sticking up in the centre is the centre point of where the mat is aiming, if you will, your ball to target line. So let's say, for instance, a player is coming over the top of the golf ball. What would be a great exercise is to try and hit a spectrum of pushes that you can see there illustrated by the yellow canes on the right hand side. Hit the biggest push, then start to hit the medium push, and then try to hit the slight push. And then ultimately, if you get skilled at this, you can hit the spectrum of pushes on call, as though you were, say, Mike Bennett demonstrating these shots at a clinic. Alternatively, you're a player who's stuck underneath the golf ball and continuously pushing and hooking it. Why not try hitting the spectrum of pulls? Biggest pull, medium pull, little pull. And again, test your ability to shift the plane, or to shift the horizontal swing plane, the swing direction at will. And also then start videoing the swing and see what sort of effects we have. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit a couple of shots, high speed footage, and demonstrate the biggest push and the biggest pull to illustrate what this drill can do for you. So as that high speed footage showed, if I'm hitting the spectrum of pushes, I'm going to be doing all the things required to keep this club coming from the inside. I'm going to be moving in a linear manner. I'm going to be pushing up and extending at the correct rate. I'm going to be continuing to hit out at the golf ball through impact. If I'm hitting the spectrum of pulls, I'm going to be flexing forward much more from P4 to P5. I'm going to be turning much more with the lower body, coming through impact, and exiting much lower, coming through the golf ball. So if you're having difficulties with the swing continuously dropping underneath or continuously coming over the top, this is a great drill to get you to experience what the other side of the spectrum feels like. If we're way in here, we better spend a little bit of time way out in front of us just to strike that balance that we're looking for when we're out on the golf course. So there you have some more drills to add to your locker to help you accelerate your improvements and improve the quality of practice when out the driving range. I'd like to offer special thanks to both Andy Plummer and Mike Bennett for making this sort of learning experience possible, and also thanks to all the other instructors within the network who make learning so much fun and make it so much easier to learn the skills required to improve your golf.